Welcome. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to our Q&A on the AT parenting community. Today, I want to talk to you about what is in the AT parenting community, answer any questions that you have, and go through it in detail so you know what's behind the doors in the AT parenting community. We get a lot of questions about this because I do have a lot of resources. I have a podcast, I have a YouTube channel, I have a public Facebook group. And so sometimes people are like, what is the difference between all of that and the AT parenting community? And there is a ton of difference. And so I make sure to do a Q&A. So if you have questions, feel free to post them. We are streaming this in a couple of different places. So if you are, you're on my page, my YouTube channel, if you are actually on the website and you wanted to ask a question and you don't see the comment button, you can just turn your phone or your iPad. If you're on an iPad, you'll see it, but turn your phone horizontal and you'll see the question box. So when I created the AT parenting community, I wanted to address the different needs that a lot of parents who are struggling with their kids with anxiety or OCD have. And there are common struggles that we all have. So I'm going to go through those and talk to you about how the AT parenting community supports you. So the AT parenting community is an in-depth support. It is a membership community. And so you sign up, you become a member. We have a website that is only for members. So you log in. We have Zoom calls. I'm going to go through all of that, but it is not about being on Facebook. We do have a member only Facebook group just because people love Facebook, actually not as much lately, but there is that component, but that is such a very, very tiny component to the AT parenting community. So I'll break it down for you. Before I jump into that, though, I do want to just briefly introduce myself. If any of you are catching this and you are following me, but you don't know who I am, that happens. My name is Natasha Daniels. I am an anxiety and OCD child therapist. I've been doing this for over 2 decades. And I am also the parent of 3 kids with anxiety and OCD. So I get this on a personal and professional level. And it's really been my mission to fill in the gaps to support parents who are raising kids with anxiety or OCD, because there are a multitude of gaps. So let's go into this. What I have found, there are 4 common struggles that a lot of us who are raising our kids with anxiety or OCD have. And when I say kids, I mean any age. So we have people in the AT parenting community who have kids who are preschoolers, toddlers, and we have parents in the community who have young adults who are in their mid-20s. And so we have a big, broad range of parents of all different ages and all different comorbidities. We have parents who have kids in there who have kids who are on the spectrum. We have parents who have kids with comorbid conditions like ADHD, Tourette's, anxiety, depression, body-focused repetitive behaviors like picking and pulling. We cover all of that in the community because those are so, so common. So I'm going to just link, I'm not very good at multitasking, going to link that link so that if you are curious as we're talking, you can go on there and you can see what's included. It's very comprehensive on that website, but I want to break it down. So to me, the 4 struggles are: 1, feeling isolated. It's such a lonely experience, and it really doesn't have to be. And I don't know why it is, because I feel like there are so many of us struggling that the global connection has really been able to give us this opportunity to connect to each other. There is a lack of support. If you're raising a child, especially with OCD, you may have already discovered that you are a ping pong ball, finding resources that don't fit, finding other resources that don't fit, finding providers that don't fit, finding, spaces that aren't resonating because it's not your struggle. And so a lack of support and finding the right resources is a huge problem. The third one are the family struggles. There are so many family struggles that come with anxiety and OCD. What's your role? How are you supposed to handle it when your kids are melting down because you're not feeding the anxiety or OCD? Or how are you supposed to help your other kids, the siblings of the child with anxiety or OCD? Or how is it impacting your relationship with your partner or your own mental or physical health? And so the family dynamics is another big, big struggle. I often say that anxiety and OCD is a family affair because it impacts and it involves everybody in the family on some level. So that's the third struggle. And the last one is the isolation of our kids. They often feel shame, embarrassment. They feel like they're different. They feel like they're crazy. And they need to be validated, and they need to know that they are not alone. And that is actually a huge aspect of motivating our kids to work on their struggles, is to take away the stigma and to normalize it. And I have found, and we'll talk about this when I go into the category of the support that we give kids, kids will listen to kids more than kids will listen to us. Have you found that? And so having kids support each other while it's being moderated is so huge, because I can say something to my kids and then a peer says it to them. And this actually happened in our support group call for AT parenting community. My daughter was on there and someone gave her some advice that I have been telling her forever. And she's like, that's a great idea. I'm going to start doing that. She needed to hear it from a peer. And so that comes into play with our kids as well. So let me break this down. So those are the 4 struggles that I've seen. There are more for sure, but those are the 4 that really impact so many of us. So when I created the AT parenting community, I thought about these struggles, and I wanted to create a hub where parents can kind of get whatever they needed from the AT parenting community. And so it's jam-packed with a lot of stuff. And I always tell members that come on, you're not meant to digest everything in there. I just want to make sure that I have a buffet of options for you so that I can give you what you need, because every person that joins the community has a very specific need and they're not all the same. And so I really walk people through guiding them to the right resources in the community so that they know exactly where to tap into to get what they need. But we'll talk about that. So just remember that as I'm going through all this stuff, that it may not be that you need all this stuff. It may be that one aspect is what you need. And so the first struggle we talked about is a lack of support. And so you feel like you are, actually, I want to go back. The first struggle, it's not on my list, is feeling alone, is feeling isolated. And when you're isolated, you feel more hopeless. And when you feel hopeless, you feel like you can't be a really good anchor for your kids. And so our feeling supported by other people directly impacts our kids. So we help you not feel alone in a whole bunch of ways. Normally we have about 1,000 to 1,300 members at any given time. And it changes because people get better and they get progress, and then people come in and they're struggling. And so it's constantly going back and forth. But between 1,000 to 1,300 families at any given time. And normally we have about 900 or so in our Facebook group, and then the rest are not on Facebook at all. And they don't need to be on Facebook at all for the community. So they can feel like they're not alone. They can join the Facebook group. There are a lot of parents in there that like to support each other. There are parents that have been in there for years, and they're very educated and they support other people. I already saw a couple of members popping in there and introducing themselves and asking questions. And it was just nice to see all these members like answering and supporting them. I personally stay out of the Facebook group because I found that when I jump in there and give advice, then no other parent will jump in and give advice. So the Facebook group is for parents to support parents. We moderate it. We make sure that it's a really warm, friendly community. We have not had any problems, knock on wood, but that is one aspect of making sure that you don't feel alone. We also have a member-only forum, and that is on our website. And we'll talk more about that when we're talking about lack of support. But the forums are kind of like Reddit boards. I don't know how else to define it, but they're like boards, and you can create threads on different topics. And that's really your way to connect with me. You can see all the other parents. So it's a nice passive way to get information because you can see all of the different parents asking questions. And so even that can make you feel less alone, because you're like, wow, there's 1,400 questions on the topics that I'm wondering about too. So it can actually be a resource in and of itself, and it can make you feel less alone just by seeing all of that and feeling validated. But then you also can ask me direct questions. And there are members who ask me questions almost like every other day. And then I get to really know them because they're coming back for more. We'll talk more about that when we get to the lack of support, because that's where I fill in the gap for the support. But I do feel like it can also make you feel very connected. The other thing that we do, and I'm talking about isolation as a parent, The last category that I'm going to go over, it will be isolation as the child, because we have a whole bunch of stuff for your kids. But this is just about for you as the parent first. We do monthly Zoom support group calls. And it used to be like my worst day of the month because support group calls always made me anxious, to be totally honest. For some bizarre reason, they're now my favorite time of the month because they're so rewarding. And we'll get into the kids support group calls down when I get to the kids, but the parent support group call is just, we jump on once a month and everyone goes through and can share their wins, what things that they did that their kids crushed anxiety or OCD. And then we spend the rest of the time talking about their struggles. And we have such a wealth of education in our community. When you get like 1,000 parents together, you tap into all these expertise. So we have people who are expertise in like the school system, and we have someone who's a dietitian, someone who's an expert in pandas. I find that there's a lot of therapists actually that are in the community as well. There is a therapist membership. It's the same thing as the parent, but they get a couple of extra bonus things. They get a therapy instructional video once a month, and they get a therapy worksheet for their practice. And they get access to the library of all the videos that I've ever done and worksheets for the community, which is, I think, at 60 something right now. So they get a lot. But those people are in our community and they share their expertise as well. And so it's kind of this collaborative approach of everybody supporting each other, which is really helpful. So the support group calls, everybody pipes in and tries to support people or connect them to resources or give them suggestions or have been there and done that. And so that could be helpful. Sarah said, can you search topics on the forum? What time of day and day of the week are the support group calls? Great question, Sarah. You could search topics on the forums, and we've stopped doing that because we had a glitch in the system, and some of the forums are private and some of them aren't. And the search was searching all of them. So that was not okay. So you can't search topics anymore, but you can search the website, and the website will pull up different resources on the website of any classes we've done and things like that. The support group calls are typically the first Saturday of every month. And we have had quite the time trying to find the perfect time for every hemisphere of the globe, which has been really, really tricky. And so what we landed on, which is not the best for Australia, only in one season. I think it's right now, right? So it's not so great in the summer, but it works out for them in the winter. The kids calls are 12 p.m. Pacific currently. I'm just going to tell you the current times, and then you can go to a time. Maybe Ayla can link a time converter website, and you can change it for your time zone. But it's so it's Saturdays 12 p.m. for the younger kids Pacific. That's 3 p.m. Eastern, and then it is 1:15 Pacific, 4:15 for the teens. And then 1:15, 2:15, 2:30. It's like 2:30 Pacific, 2:30, 5:30 Eastern. I'm making me do math today for the adults. And so whatever time zone you're in, you can figure that out. I do travel sometimes, and we move those support group calls. Typically, we don't change the times. We might change the week, but those are typically the calls. We have done, in the last couple of months, we did a support group called just for Australians and people in Japan, Singapore, that hemisphere of the world, because they were the ones that were really missing out. And so we will periodically do that, where we'll do a support group call just for that. The support group calls are recorded, not the kid and teen ones. And so for parents who want the support or want to just hear other people's stories, they can access that. And we do have multiple ways that you can access the replays of everything we do. It's on the website. And so we have replays that you can just watch. And we have replays of our classes, and we'll talk about the classes in a second, from the beginning of time. So this community opened up in 2019. No, I don't remember. Maybe Ayla can say in the comments. I'm not sure. I can't remember when we opened up. 2019? I don't know. Yeah. 2019, 20. So 2019. Thank you. Ayla is the AT Parenting Community Manager. She's behind the scenes, but I can see her. So she's trying to help me support me here. So you have access to all the replays of the classes, but the support group calls, because of confidentiality, we only let the last 3 or 4 go, maybe even less than that. We do have a private podcast stream. So that is another way that you can watch the replays, is that you could you can just email Ayla and we walk you through all this, and you can get the private feed for the AT parenting community. And we keep the last 5 classes and support group calls on the feed. And so that will actually pop into wherever you listen to. So if you like to listen to your podcast on Apple, it connects to Apple, and then boom, you've got the AT parenting community on your podcast, which I think is super cool. So you can participate at any level. We also have a lot of members who are not able to make our live classes or support group calls, and they will email us questions, and I will answer those in depth during the call. So even if they have a support group question, they can ask, and I can present it to the parents in there, and they can get the support through the replay. So there's lots of ways to do that. Okay, so the last thing I want to mention as far as the isolation issue for parents, the other thing that we offer is a parent connection program. And when we created the AT parenting community, we didn't have any of this stuff. I mean, it grew and it grew and it grew. We started off with 145 members, and it kept growing and growing and growing. And then members would have ideas. They'd say, can we do this? Can we do that? We had no resources for kids. I'll get to the kids in a little while. But that was out of the suggestion of members. And so it really is a community. I am just part of the community, and I'm just, an admin of the community to help support. But really, it's the parents' community, and they create it and craft it, and we make it happen. So the Parent Connection Program is very simplistic. It sounds more complicated than it is, but parents want to meet offline and they want to connect. And so it was a safe way for us to connect parents with each other, instead of them sharing their information on a Zoom call or sharing their information in Facebook. Who wants to do that? They can say, I want to meet other parents. And then we have a spreadsheet. And then when you join the spreadsheet, you commit to reaching out to at least one other parent. And on the spreadsheet, you can choose. There's parents who talk about their kids' ages, they talk about their kids' struggles, or they talk about their location if they want to. And so you can match, if you're looking for support and you want someone who has kids with the same age, or if you want someone local so you can go out for coffee and meet a friend who understands it, we try to facilitate that. So I think that's pretty cool. Moving on from there, lack of support is the number one issue for parents raising kids with anxiety or OCD, especially OCD, where getting the wrong kind of help is a detriment to your child's mental health. And how are we supposed to know that? So we try to give you guidance on tap. You get free access to $500 worth of my courses, and it's inside your member portal. It used to not be. It used to be to get a coupon code, and it superly confused everybody. But now you go in the member portal, you log into the member website, and inside the member website are some of my courses from my AT Parenting Survival School, and you get them for free as a member when you're in the portal. And those include how to teach kids to crush OCD, how to teach kids to crush anxiety, a space study guide course for parents pulling back accommodations, a moral OCD course, a sensory anxiety course, a difficult behavior course caused by anxiety or OCD, and a workshop on how to find the core fear. That's a lot. That's $500 worth of courses for free. And normally we tell people, pace yourself. You don't have to do all those courses. We always recommend that you take the main course. When you start, you'll have just an incredible amount of knowledge very quickly. And that is how to teach kids to crush OCD or how to teach kids to crush anxiety. Those are the two that we recommend. People can message me like I mentioned before. You can go to the forums, and there's on the very top of our forums in our member website, it says create a link with Natasha. And so you are able to just talk to me directly. Everyone can see it because it's a forum and we're a community. There is a way to message me directly in the forums if you don't want other people to see it. And we can have an ongoing conversation. You can say, my child's doing this. What should my reaction be? Or I'm trying to find a therapist. Do you know a therapist in this area? Any question is fine. Nancy said, is there direct ways to deal with OCD as a professional? We do have a therapist, but I don't want to be all mixed up with your courses, with your course ways and the therapist ways. Well, I do feel like there is an evidence-based approach to OCD, especially when we're talking about OCD. And it's different than other mental health issues like anxiety even, or depression or ADHD. There is one predominant evidence-based go-to approach for kids with OCD. And that's ERP, exposure response prevention, as well as SPACE, pulling back your involvement with the compulsions, and sometimes a supplement of ACT, acceptance commitment therapy. And so anyone who's an OCD therapist is teaching that. So there really isn't a different way. So if you're learning something in my course and then it doesn't match with the therapist, and this has happened a lot in my community and in my courses, you may not be with the right therapist, because if they don't know what ERP is and your child has OCD, and they don't know what SPACE is and your child has OCD, these are the front line approaches to OCD. And so that has happened where members are like, oh my gosh, we're doing this approach. And all the members are like, yikes, we've been there, we've done that. So it shouldn't conflict. If you have an OCD therapist, they're doing ERP. I always say, talk to your therapist and say, hey, I'm getting this support from this community. How can I use this to supplement what you're doing? And it's really meant to augment and supplement the therapy that your child is getting. Often the therapist will not have time to do family work and support you at the level that you need while they're helping your child. And that is unfortunate. I think that's way too common, that there just isn't the capacity to help the family in the way that the family needs the help. So a lot of times the therapist will recommend the AT parenting community. They'll recommend the courses. I have tons of therapists that are referring people in because it behooves them to have the parent get all the support that they can get while they're supporting your child. But I always say defer to your OCD therapist, especially if they're doing evidence-based approaches like ERP. They will know best, but you will know if they don't know best. You will know if they don't know ERP. You will know, hey, wait, this doesn't sound like ERP. If we're not educated, we can't be aware of what is going on clinically with our kids. And unfortunately, we have to be, because there are so many therapists that are not trained and skilled in OCD. And on the next level, there are so many therapists that are unreachable. And so a lot of members in the AT parenting community do have therapists, but a lot of them don't, because they can't find an OCD therapist, or it's cost prohibitive, because most OCD therapists do not take insurance. And so you're talking about $200, $300 a session. So to augment what your child is learning, you can learn it yourself as well. So great question. Thank you for asking that. The other thing that we do is we do weekly Zoom classes. And so the members will vote on a topic, and we will do that in the Facebook group typically, but you don't have to be in Facebook. You can always email us a topic you want us to cover, and we pop on Zoom, and it's another intimate experience. A lot of times, because the topics might be very specific, we might get 5 to 15 parents in there, and we have this really warm, intimate, supportive environment where they can ask me questions. I can talk about their struggles. Normally it's a teaching format, so I teach for 30 minutes and then I open it up to discussion. And like I said, you can watch that replay on our website, and you can watch the replay if you like to just listen to things through the podcast. So that's the weekly classes. And then you get a library of all the classes that we've had. I created videos just for you. I create videos for the kids. We'll talk about the kids a little bit later. There's worksheets for you to use with your kids at home. And we have guest workshops. And so when there is a request in the community to bring in an expert, I know I'm not an expert in everything. I know anxiety and OCD, but I'm not an expert in ADHD. I'm not an expert in executive functioning. I'm not an expert in autism. And so we will bring people in, and they will do guest workshops, and they'll educate the community. And I love doing that, because I think that that's just a great gift to give you guys, is bring in colleagues of mine who are really the go-to people in those areas. And you have the replay of all of those. Nancy said, even teen. I'm not sure what you mean, but the community is open to kids, teens, young adults. We have all ages. And so we'll talk about the kids when we get down to the kids. I know they're my last category, but we do have a teen support group call, and that is ages 13 to 18. We don't have support group calls over 18 because there are a lot of adult OCD support groups, and we can connect you to those when you need those. Okay, so moving from there, Family struggles was the third thing that I talked about. And family is a really hard thing. And so you do get free access to my SPACE study guide. So SPACE is a therapy modality created by L.A. Leibowitz out of Yale. And he talks about systematically pulling back your involvement with anxiety and OCD. We did have a lot of parents who wanted me to teach that more in depth. And so I did eventually create a video study course and my own worksheets that kind of supplement SPACE. And so that is really helpful for people who are dealing with the family struggle. Difficult behavior caused by anxiety, OCD, that's a course you get free access to. That was another struggle that a lot of members are having. Big meltdowns, difficult behavior, opposition caused by anxiety, OCD. So I did gift all members that course because that course was actually in my online school at atparentingsurvivalschool.com. And I moved it over to give that to members for free as well. And so the other thing that I do in the forums is I help define roles. So a lot of times parents do have their child in therapy, but they don't know what they're supposed to do. And the therapist just is not able to do all of that. It's a lot of in-depth work. And so they might say, how do I respond when my child needs reassurance? Or how do I pull back this issue? Or I'm seeing this behavior. What's the first step I can do? Or I'm starting to do ERP on my own. What should I do? How do I start doing it? And so defining your role is really helpful. Sometimes even outside of that, right? I have had members who are like, I'm going to a school meeting and am I out of line to request that they do this, this, and this? And if I do want to request this, how do I do it? What are my rights? And so we'll link you to some resources and I'll walk you through. I don't think that's, ridiculous. I think that, a lot of us have asked for that, and we'll talk about that in the forums. So you get that kind of soundboard really to get you that support. The last thing I want to talk about, and I think actually the best, to be honest, is the child and teen resources. Like I said before, when we started the community, we did not start with all of these things. It started off with the live Zoom calls and the library of stuff, and that was it. And so we've really grown since then. The parents wanted their kids to have a support as well, and they wanted me to do a kid and teen support group call. It started with kids, actually. We weren't doing teens. And so we grew, and then people are like, we want my teen to go into their own support group call. So just like the parents, once a month, we have a Zoom support group call online. And so we have one for kids, 7 to 12-year-olds. And then we have one for teens, 13 to 18. And we have one for parents. And those are an hour each. I moderate them. I make sure that we're having safe conversations. Ayla, the AT Parenting Community Manager, moderates it with me. She's watching the chat. And so we want it to be as safe of a place for kids. It's not therapy. It's a support group, but it is moderated by a therapist. I'm not their therapist, but I'm moderating it and making sure that the advice and the suggestions and the topics are staying therapeutic. When we created those, the kids wanted to connect more offline, and we didn't want them to share their information on the calls because we didn't know if parents were okay with that. So we created the Buddy program, similar to the Parent Connection program. The Buddy program is very simplistic. It's just a way for us to help facilitate connection between members. And so a parent can join the Buddy spreadsheet. And when they join the spreadsheet, they're committing to contact at least one parent on the spreadsheet. And they have access to the spreadsheet, which is a spreadsheet of people who want to be connected. Their kids want to be connected. And so it will include their age, their interests, their struggles, and their location if parents are comfortable with that. And they can connect with whoever they feel like would resonate with their child. So if they're looking for someone who's a similar age with similar struggles, or if they're looking for someone locally, you can look at the spreadsheet and pick who you want to reach out to. And then it's up to you guys. You reach out to each other, and we don't have any involvement in that part of it. But that's been really helpful because it's so cute on our support group calls. Kids are like, oh my gosh, I met my best friend through this community. And I'm always surprised because I don't hear a lot of those stories. And so that's happened quite a few times. We're like, yeah, I actually just went and saw my best friend. She lives in another state, and I met her through here. And that like just touches my heart. And it happens actually quite a lot. So that is a great thing. I was going to say something else, but I actually forgot. I forgot what I was going to say. It'll come back. The last thing that we do that we just created, and this was actually my idea, was doing hope messages. There are some members of our community, some kids who are really, really struggling. They feel like they can't beat anxiety, OCD. They feel overwhelmed. They might be trapped in their room. They might be not going to school. And so we created hope messages, and that's a new program that we're doing where we will send that child a little care package with a letter of hope. And I normally send in a little bit of goodies in the package as well. They were supposed to be just letters, but they've turned into like little mini care packages to let them know they're not alone. And we actually have other members who are doing family projects where them and their kids with anxiety or OCD will write letters, and they'll send me the letters. We'll review them to make sure that they're appropriate, and then I will add them to the care packages and send them out. We just started that like 2 weeks ago. I've already mailed out 20 care packages. So very, very cool, and a great way for our kids to know that they're not alone. So if you have any other questions, let me know. You can go to atparentingcommunity.com to learn more. It's all written out there. Everything I told you is kind of written out on that website. The doors will close this Thursday, August 8th at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern time. And the reason why we do close the door, sometimes people ask us that, is because it takes so much energy when new people join. I am answering questions in the forums pretty much nonstop for the first few weeks when new members join. And we do a Zoom welcome new members call just for new members. And they have a lot of questions. And so to have new people coming in all the time would be overwhelming to the community as a whole. And so it's easier for members to know this is I warn members. I say, hey, I'm opening up the doors. We're going to get new people. And so they're aware. They're extra helpful and friendly during that time. And I'm aware to block out my schedule to be available for the influx of people coming in. Nancy said, is members stay as long as they need or only a year? It is a monthly membership and you can cancel at any time. And so we find that members really start to get their beat, get super educated and start, getting some traction around 3 to 4 months is people start making a lot of progress, if that's why they're joining the community. Some people just want ongoing community. We have members who have joined 5 years ago and are still members because they love the community and they love the connection. So you can stay as long as you want. We do have a 6-month membership. We do have a 12-month membership because if you join the 6-month membership, you get 1 month free. And if you join the 12-month membership, you get 2 months free. And so if you know I'm going to need support for a while, it makes more sense to join for 12 months. But you can cancel at any time. So, and we want it to be that way. There was something else I was going to say, and then I remembered it, and then I forgot it. It's my brain. Oh, well, I guess it will come back later and it will be too late. So if you have questions, just let us know. It was something related to the kids and teens. I don't remember. The age ranges for the support group calls for the kids are flexible. And so like my daughter is 12 and she's turning 13 in November. She does have an issue with change. That might be part of it, but she really loves the kid group. And so she doesn't want to move out of the kid group. And so she's staying in the kid group. We have parents who are like, my child, is really mature and it's going to go to the older group. And so we're flexible with that. The only thing we're not really flexible with too much is like, if they're over 18, we don't want them to be in the kid or teen group because of minor issues and confidentiality and things like that. So doors close this Thursday. And if you have questions, feel free to email us. You can email us at atparentingsurvivalhelp@yahoo.com. More than happy to answer your questions. I'm sure that the thing I was going to tell you will come up. It came up again, and then I lost it again, like early signs of dementia. It's very scary. But I would love to support you more. And just feel free to email us if you have other questions. We'll be around waiting. The doors will close on Thursday, and we're pretty tight about the doors closing. They'll open up a few months later. What are we at? We're in August. So it'll open up probably in the fall, late fall. But if you need support or your kids need support, come and join us. A lot of times parents will join us just because they want their kids to be in a support group call. I remember what I was going to say. I'm so glad I remembered. When kids join the support group call, thank goodness, that was going to bother me all day. They do not need to put their camera or their video on. So a lot of new members and a lot of kids who are really reluctant to join our support group call can be a passive observer. And that has so much power anyway, because they can hear all the stories. And these are really uplifting things because the kids encourage each other. and they'll be like, don't give up, or I was there and this is what I did. And they are really the most uplifting group of people. But they do talk about their struggles, and it's very normalizing. And so I will tell parents, you don't have to, we never force our kids to do support group calls. And I don't recommend that, because then we have a nasty, angry person on our call, and that's not really helpful. But you can say, hey, you know what, you can just listen to this, and, we'll just play it in the kitchen, and you can just sit on the counter and listen to it passively. When people start doing that, it almost always, they eventually join. They don't have to, they can always just listen. But I just want you to know that there's support at any level. Nancy said, sorry for all my questions. Not at all. That's what this is for. This is a Q&A. I missed the beginning. All its offers are listed somewhere and explained. Sorry again. You should be getting emails, Nancy. If you are not on our email list, you should be getting emails that would explain everything. But if you go to AT Parenting Community, like Ayla just linked over there, it explains everything. It'll tell you what the membership is, 6 months and 12 months. So just go to the website at atparentingcommunity.com. And it does explain everything in detail there. If you have questions, you can email us at atparentingsurvivalhelp@yahoo.com. So for those of you that watch the series, thanks for joining me for the series. The series will be up until, the series Facebook group will be up until Thursday. And then that comes down. That's a temporary group. And you can either come into the AT Parenting Community, or you can go to my free public Facebook group that we have available as well. All right. Well, I hope that helps, and I hope to see some of you in the AT Parenting Community. Take care.